بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم.
The birds have been flying for more than 50,000 years, I think. We don't know. And yet they know their places. They know themselves. I mean, the eagle does not fly at the level of the sparrows. And it does not make the nest also down there. It's always up at the top.
الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحابته ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. الحمد لله. نتشرف اليوم بمجالسة أحد أكابر علمائنا وفلاسفتنا السيد نقيب العطاس، وهو أستاذ عظيم في الفلسفة الإسلامية وكذلك في التاريخ ماليزيا وعدة أشياء أخرى. Sayyid Naqib al-Attas, first of all, I would just like to say that I have benefited immensely from your work. I've read all of the published work that I have that you've done. If you could perhaps really summarize what you think is the essential crises taking place right now in the Muslim world.
I said it is the loss of adab, but of course the word adab that I'm using, I think I have understood it according to what I understand to be perhaps the very early meaning of that word. Adab is a reflection of wisdom, because this comes from the knowledge of the prophets. It is not something you get from universities or even from knowledge. Because people sometimes have knowledge but have no adab. But therefore this adab, the way I have understood it and defined it is acting in conformity with justice. Yes? But I'm talking about the main justice as the virtue, actually, the final virtue, the culmination of all virtues. Already the Quran said, Inna Allah ya'murukum an tu'addul amanat ila ahliha wa idza hakamtum bainan nas an tahkumu bil adl. There are 4 terms already that are very important there. First of all, amr. Yes, it is a command. It is a command. The command meaning something to do with commands and prohibitions. When you talk of command, you speak of law. Because people are not living in a state of nature.
Yes.
You see? I mean, law can only happen when people have commands and prohibitions.
And they submit
and so
to
on
it.
And so forth.
Yes.
I won't go into the details of that. The second word is the ahli. Obviously, it refers to people who are experts, who are authorities, And the Quran mentioned ulul ilm, ulul absar, ulul albab. These are the people who are in authority. And of course, those set in authority above you could mean also just governments as well, isn't it?
Yes.
And then you have hakam. And that's where the wisdom comes in, because this is from hikmah, isn't it?
Yes.
وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. So this hakama, this wisdom, what is this wisdom really? The way I have understood, because I contemplated on these things, wisdom is the knowledge that tells you about the proper places of everything. Of course, all prophets have wisdom. The Quran said they are given the kitab wal hikmah. And some who are not prophets also were given wisdom. The Quran says, isn't it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives wisdom to whomsoever He pleases. And those who are given that is given the very great good. The Quran mentioned Luqman as being given wisdom. And I suppose myself that some of these ancient philosophers, they were not Muslims, but they were given wisdom. Because wisdom, you have I talk about the theoretical, I talk about the practical wisdom. I think in their case, their theory and the practice deals mainly with the world of empirical things, like Aristotle and so on. They are dealing mainly with things. I mean, it's obviously through wisdom that they elaborated and classified logic, knowledge. All these things must come from wisdom, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although maybe they themselves did not realize that. They think it's coming from their own minds. Yes? You speak about logic, you speak about genus, difference, species. Now, why? Of course, they observe. They can see that, there are all kinds of things in this world. There are things that grow. There are things that, but then cannot move, like plants and so on. There are things that also grow, but they can move, animals, and so on. And then from there, gradually you have genus, species, difference, isn't it?
Yes.
So all this is part of wisdom, obviously.
Recognizing all
yes,
this.
And that's what I said, the knowledge of the proper places of things. That means everything has got a proper place. Yes. That also is from the Quran. The Quran says about this thing, that there is maqam ma'loom. Yes? And then, the Quran said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created bil haq. Haq means, of course, in English, very difficult. I always say reality and truth. Or true real, because that's what haq is. It's not just truth, it's also real.
Yes.
That means what we are saying is that the quality of truth is a reality also. It's not just
relative.
Truth is not just propositional.
Yes.
It's not a quality property of sentences.
Yes.
But also we are saying this ontological also.
Yes.
That things are already established in reality. And they have proper places. You see, and therefore wisdom is knowing how to deal with these things, to put them in the proper places in our minds. And this adab is conformity with that knowledge. When you conform to the proper places of things, then that action that you do, that is what adab is about. So, and if, for example, you do that, then the condition that results from that is justice. The word adl.
Yes.
Therefore, justice is a condition of things being in their proper places. Now, that is what is lost in the Muslims. There is an attack on authorities, except governments. But governments sometimes are unjust. وَلِيُّ الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, it doesn't refer only to them. And a lot of them are not really that alim like the ones in the past. They are only restricting knowledge to fiqh, to law, jurisprudence. And that is why, during the last 300, 400, 200 years, they are emphasizing on that, on law. And when you speak about legal matters, it's connected with politics. And therefore governments are allied to this. The intellectual, that one they put aside, as if they already know. as if it's not important. That's what they cut off from the past. This gentleman by the name of Jamali, who was a minister of state at one time of Iraq, I gather. But he's an elderly man with white hair, and he said, Professor, why you are talking about the past? The past is dead. So I said, well, I think it is the present that is dead. The past is very much alive, really, I said. Because look at, for example, a man like Ibn Manzur, just one man produced a dictionary like that, the Lisanul Arab, which is about 25 volumes, and is most authoritative, and one man produced that. That's in the past, that's in the 14th century. And you now, today, I said, you cannot do that.
Even with a committee?
Even if you assemble yourself together,
yes,
you cannot produce like that. And therefore, this attacking the past as if it were dead, looking at Islam as if it is something dead, as if what we need now is a resurrection, this attitude that you're cutting yourself off from roots. Trees do not grow without roots. And the trees that have really roots, big trees, they don't move. And the Quran speaks about trees, isn't it?
Yes.
The Quran speaks about trees, that it is a word of truth. The Quran talks about trees. Kashajaratin tayyibah. Yes? Can I stop for a while? I want to say something.
Yes.
Because it's going to rain, I hope your shoes. Why must he always translate Islam as submission, not the name for religion? Because people like some Orientalists now are saying the name Islam only now the Muslims realize that their religion is called Islam. In other words, it's a development. Because we are saying that they are have been developing. The name Christianity did not appear. It appeared later. It was given by their enemies, the Romans, who called them Christians. Then it stuck to them. The Hindus, the same thing. The others, they use the names of people, or they use the names of places, like the Hindus, like the Buddhists, use the name of and they used to call us Muhammadan, because they think we are like them. And we always reject. No, we are not Muhammadan, we are Muslim. So they want to say that we also, actually, our religion has no name. It's just now, only recently. Then we call it Islam. Actually, in other words, you cannot monopolize this. We cannot accept that. Because you just think logically even, how can you say that there is a religion other than submission? وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا. Whoever wants to follow other than submission. There is no such a thing as other than submission. Everything submits to God already, including the world of created things.
We in the West often think, well, we've reached the pinnacle and everybody else is lagging behind, you mentioned, and needs to catch up. And unfortunately, this idea is quite widespread in the Muslim world, particularly in women's issues. There are a lot of Muslims now that really feel that we have to adopt completely a Western model in order for us to compete, to catch up, that we can restore our greatness, become a world leader again. What are your thoughts about that?
Western writers, when they talk about the history of mankind, when they talk about the history, well, they are talking more about themselves, about how they developed everything, changed the world, and so on. Well, some things are right, but at least also about others. Others also have done a lot of things. From our point of view, what is more important is ultimately to also know yourself. And yet man in 50 years knows how to fly more than the birds. Yes, in 50 years, the invention of many things by man, he can fly to regions that birds' wings have never flown before. And yet, for example, he cannot control himself. Yes.
How do you get that balance, though?
Yes, we must have certain that knowledge of the Fardu Ain must be made compulsory and in a university environment. at certain levels, at all levels, from down below, yes, to the up. That's the only way we can do. This does not mean that we will achieve a perfect balance, because I don't think perfection in that way can be achieved as such. We are not required to become perfect in that sense, isn't it? And we will try to ultimately, what is the purpose? To be happy, isn't it?
Yeah.
To achieve happiness. That's part of ethics. That's the goal of good character and ethics. That's what we mean by that. They said you cannot define happiness. We say we can define it, provided it is not restricted to the animal world. You can't define because you're talking about pleasure, pain, you're talking about continually changing, momentary, psychological. We're only saying that apart from that, there is a higher level of happiness, which is not those things. How do we know that? Then we'll say the only way first, let's define it by the opposite. What is the opposite of happiness? And that is misery, isn't it?
Yes.
And what is misery? Misery is a genus. And the species of misery, all kinds of suffering is misery. Now already when you talk about what is suffering, gradually you go not to the physical, but to something internal, isn't it? Ultimately, doubt is one of the greatest things about doubt. Ultimate matters about your ultimate, if you really seriously think about these things. Therefore, happiness is when you remove that doubt. Therefore, Islam talks about yaqeen. Islam talks about the nafs al-mutmainnah. And that's what happiness is, ultimately. Therefore, it is nothing to do with momentary, or if it is there, it is permanent.
Where do you think the role of women in this, where do you think that fits?
Yes, first of all, supposing I ask, is there anywhere any statement saying that women should not seek knowledge? Anyway, in the Quran or in the Hadith, is there any?
No.
So, then they should seek knowledge.
It's the same.
Yes, they should seek knowledge. That depends on them also. I think you should ask them, because some of them, I think I said yes, that perhaps some of them, certainly there might be some kind of choice and advice as well. I mean, maybe there are some branches of the sciences and knowledge and so on, but maybe they are not suited to that. But then you should ask them also about that.
Yes.
There are, but medicine, there is a lot of knowledge, medicine, teaching, and so on. All these things women can do. Yeah, but I mean, military sciences, although I know now there are lots of women in the army in America and so on, but difficult to find a general up to that level, In other words, equality doesn't mean, therefore, because a man can be a general, a woman can also be a general. I mean, this kind of idea of equality is not, that's not what equality is. This is not a time when Muslims all understand everything about Islam that they should understand. And I think somewhere in the Holy Quran there is a verse which says that all these laws can be practiced when Iman has become established. And I think at this time the Iman aspect has not become established properly. And you cannot force some of these things.
Yes.
And you cannot discuss some of these things. Therefore, let's first try to bring that Iman back. Up to now, Iman comes from God, but at least we should prepare the ground.
How would you suggest preparing the ground?
We talk about the akhlaq, we talk about the ethics, we talk about the thought, we talk about what the Sufis have said, what the Kalam people have said. We talk about that because a lot of that is relevant today. But it's because modern scholars cannot relate those ideas with the modern problems.
Your influence has been immense, and it's yet to be recognized. I think that it's for these coming generations will see that if they'll do the work, if they'll do the archaeology of the ideas, I think they'll end up in the rock bed of Sayyidina Al-Attas for a lot of the really brilliant ideas of our time in many things.
And some of our students before, it was the students from here, they understood when they went to America, they studied with Ismail Faruqi at Temple.
Temple University.
Yes?
Yes.
And there are some people from Afghanistan, from the Arab world and so on. But the Malaysians, well, they understood better the problems of the West, secular and so on, than the others. You know, there's one question, why is it in Malaysia? I said, first of all, of course, one answer is because I am here. But I think it's also because only in this Malaysia that you find all the religions. You have Hinduism, you have Buddhism, you have Confucianism, you have Christianity, both Catholic, Protestant, then Muslim. And you, a Muslim, are now living with these people. And there will be some problems about religion now. That's why we have to establish this. That's why the Muslim must know about their religion and about the others. And as much as them, or better if possible. So in other words, this is the reason why I said that the university must be established, and I said there must be an experiment, isn't it? I'm not saying that we've done everything, no. I said it must be an experiment.
In the United States, where I'm from,
yes,
there's over 150 Christian colleges.
Yes.
And that's in a country that has 300 million people. And you look at the Muslim world, which is over 1 billion, and we can count the Islamic colleges on our hands, and most of them are so far from implementing what you're talking about in terms of the kulliyah, the idea of a real university that trains an intellect in a full capacity.
Why this is possible for this kind of thing to happen, it's precisely because of a great deal of ignorance, a great deal of arrogance, not only there, but outside, in the ministries of education, in the Prime Minister's department. A lot of them not really knowledgeable about these things. They don't really know things very, very profoundly.
Yes.
Yes? They just act in a bureaucratic manner. They didn't realize that to establish things like this and that, if you really want to know, you must have really honest people, and who are also competent, who are also intelligent, who have proven their worth academically, scholarly, and that they must do things fast. You cannot afford bureaucracy. There is a story, you see, in one of our Malay hikayah, they call it, about the tailor bird who makes very nice, fine nests, yes? But then the monkey comes and then that story in that hikayah, it says, take note of this. The
monkey.
Yes.
Yes, be careful.
This is an ibara. Ultimately, it goes back to the question of what we call the loss of adab just now.
Yes.
This question of envy must be got rid of.
Yes.
Because the adab becomes wrong. Yes. The adab becomes merely a kind of etiquette, becomes merely a kind of following. Protocol. Yes. In other words, it's just hiding the real. That's what ethics means, isn't it?
Yes.
Ethos, character, it's a mask. That's the Greek term for mask.
Yes.
That means you put a mask. Now you put this mask, tomorrow you put another mask.
Yes.
Tomorrow you put you are hiding your real self.
Yes.
This is what I mean. In other words, the idea of ethics is to get rid of all this and to make it established. To make the soul stable.
Yes.
Yes. And not go on making different masks.
Yes. Get to the orang asli.
Yes.
Yeah. The original man. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Al-Attas, for you're a Hashimi, you're a Sayyid, and you have the generosity of the Bani Hashim. So this time with us has been very meaningful. So I really want to thank you immensely for the time you've given us, and may Allah give you tawfiq and also give you your proper place.
Yes.
Thank you very much. May Allah continue to increase knowledge in all of us and wisdom for you, for all of us. May Allah continue to guide you and grant you peace and happiness and security and success in this world and in the next.
Thank you.
Thank you.